In the bustling heart of New York City, Ethan, the owner of Bella's Trattoria, felt a disconnect from the very establishment he had poured his soul into. Despite glowing reviews, steady sales, and a content staff, Ethan sensed a growing gap between himself and his customers. To bridge this divide, he decided to don a disguise and experience his restaurant as a regular patron. On a rainy Tuesday evening, he slipped into a simple hoodie, jeans, and a baseball cap, pulling it low over his face. As he entered Bella's, the warmth of the restaurant enveloped him. The aroma of fresh pasta and baked bread filled the air, and the lively chatter of diners created a vibrant atmosphere. Servers zipped between tables, delivering steaming plates and drinks, while couples leaned in close, sharing quiet moments. Ethan slid into a booth near the back, his heart racing with anticipation. He wanted to see his restaurant through the eyes of the people who mattered most, his customers. As he settled in, a cheerful waitress approached, her smile warm yet practiced. "Good evening. Can I start you off with something to drink?" she asked. "Water's fine," Ethan replied casually, trying to keep his voice steady. "I'll need a few minutes to look over the menu." As she walked away, Ethan opened the menu he knew by heart, but his focus shifted to the conversations around him. This was his chance to hear unfiltered opinions and gauge the atmosphere. Just as he began to relax, he overheard two boys sitting in the booth behind him. Their hushed tones caught his attention. "Do you think we'll even see him?" one boy whispered, his voice trembling with excitement and anxiety. "I don't know," the second boy replied sharply. "Mom said this is the place. She said he comes here all the time." Ethan's curiosity piqued. Who were they looking for? He tried to focus on the menu, but their conversation pulled him in. "What if we get caught?" the first boy asked nervously. "We won't get caught," the second boy snapped. "We just need to figure out who he is." Ethan's heart raced. The boys seemed to be searching for someone significant, and their urgency struck a chord within him. "I heard it's his fault everything went wrong," the second boy continued. "She said if it weren't for him, we wouldn't be living like this." The words hit Ethan like a punch to the gut. Who were they talking about? He gripped the menu tightly, forcing himself to remain calm. He had always prided himself on running his business with integrity. Sure, he had made tough decisions, but nothing that would warrant this kind of accusation. Just then, the waitress returned with his water, breaking his concentration. "Ready to order?" she asked brightly. Ethan hesitated, glancing at the menu. "I'll just have the house special." As she scribbled down his order and walked away, Ethan leaned slightly to the side to catch more of the boys' conversation. "Mom said he ruined her life," the first boy muttered. "He took everything from her." Ethan's stomach churned. The boys weren't talking about a random person, they were talking about someone who had suffered because of him. "What if we tell him?" the first boy whispered, hesitating. "I don't know," the second boy replied, his voice firm. "But I want to see him. I want to see the guy who made us lose everything." Feeling the weight of the moment, Ethan knew he couldn't sit in silence any longer. He needed answers, but confronting them directly seemed risky. If they were indeed talking about him, revealing his identity could escalate the situation. Yet, staying quiet would leave him in the dark. Taking a deep breath, Ethan decided to approach the boys. They were young, no older than 13 or 14. One had curly hair peeking out from under his hoodie, while the other wore a baseball cap pulled low. They looked nervous, glancing around as if they expected someone to toss them out. "Hey," Ethan said gently, sliding his hands into his pockets to appear non-threatening. "I couldn't help but notice you two seem a little uneasy. Is everything all right?" The boy in the hoodie straightened, his face hardening. "We're fine." Ethan nodded, trying to maintain a calm demeanor. "I just thought, well, you mentioned someone earlier. Are you looking for someone?" The boys exchanged a wary glance. The one in the cap fidgeted nervously. "Why do you care?" he asked defensively. I just thought maybe I could help, Ethan replied. If you're looking for someone, I might know them. The boy in the hoodie narrowed his eyes, studying Ethan's face. Wait a second, he said slowly. You look familiar. Ethan's heart sank. A lot of people say that. I must have one of those faces. No, the boy insisted, his voice rising. You're him. You're Ethan Bell. The second boy gasped, his face turning pale. Are you serious? Is it really you? Feeling exposed, Ethan admitted quietly, yes, I'm Ethan Bell. But how do you know who I am? Because of what you did to our mom, the boy in the hoodie said, his green eyes blazing with anger. Ethan blinked in confusion. Your mom? I'm sorry, but I don't even know who she is. Yes, you do, the boy snapped. Her name is Rachel. Remember her? The name struck Ethan like lightning. Rachel had been a talented chef at Bella's, full of dreams and ambition. She had left abruptly years ago, and he hadn't thought about her since. Rachel. He said slowly, the name heavy on his tongue. She worked here, didn't she? The boy's jaw tightened. She didn't just work here. She gave everything to this place. You took her recipes and claimed them as your own. You made sure she couldn't get hired anywhere else. She told us everything. Ethan's stomach churned. That's not true. I never, why would she think that? Because it's the truth, the boy shot back. You ruined her life. You ruined our lives. The second boy, quieter and more hesitant, finally spoke up. She said you were jealous of her, that you couldn't handle someone else getting the spotlight. Ethan felt as though he'd been punched in the gut. Had he made mistakes? Had he been so focused on his success that he hadn't noticed someone else's suffering? I need to talk to your mom, Ethan said firmly. If what she told you is true, I need to hear it from her. She's not here right now, the boy in the hoodie replied. But if you really want to know the truth, you'll have to come see us. Ethan nodded, heart heavy. Then I will. As the rain drizzled steadily, Ethan found himself standing in front of a modest apartment complex the boys directed him to. The building was old, with peeling paint and cracked sidewalks, a stark contrast to the upscale life he had grown accustomed to. The door creaked open, and Jacob, the older boy, stood there, guarded. You came, he said, surprise and distrust mingling in his voice. I need to understand what happened. Where's your mom? Ethan asked. Jacob hesitated and stepped aside. She's in the living room. Ethan entered, heart pounding. The apartment was small but tidy, filled with family photos and a faint floral scent. His eyes landed on Rachel, her once vibrant auburn hair now streaked with gray, and a tiredness in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Rachel, Ethan said softly. She looked up, her expression shifting between shock and resentment. Ethan Bell, she said coldly. I can't say I expected to see you here. I didn't know it was you, Ethan replied earnestly. Your boys told me what you said about what happened. I need to know, did I really hurt you that badly? Rachel's eyes narrowed. You don't remember, do you? People like you never do. Rachel, I'm not here to argue, Ethan said, his voice breaking slightly. I honestly don't remember doing anything that could have destroyed your life. Please tell me what happened. Rachel leaned back, crossing her arms. You want the short version? Fine. You took credit for my work. All those dishes that made your restaurant famous? Most of them were mine. I trusted you, Ethan. I thought you were mentoring me, helping me grow. But you were just using me. Ethan felt his brow furrow. You were part of the team, an important part. But I never claimed your work as my own. Then why did every article about Bella's mention your name and only your name? Why did you ignore my contributions? When I finally confronted you, what did you do? You blacklisted me. Ethan's stomach turned. Blacklisted? I didn't, I would never. Yes, you did, Rachel said, her voice trembling with anger. I tried to get jobs at every major restaurant in the city. Every time I was turned away, it was like someone had put a mark on my name. I had to leave the industry entirely, and now I'm here, barely getting by, working a job that doesn't even come close to what I was capable of, all because of you. Ethan's heart sank. He hadn't been aware of any blacklisting, but that didn't mean it hadn't happened. He thought back to those early days of running his restaurant, days filled with pressure, mistakes, and moments of selfish ambition. Could he have unintentionally crushed Rachel's career in his quest to succeed? I didn't know, Ethan said quietly. I swear to you, if I had known how my actions were affecting you, I would have done something. Rachel laughed bitterly. It's too late for that, Ethan. The damage is done. Silence fell between them, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Ethan glanced at the boys, who were watching from the hallway, their expressions a mix of anger and confusion. It's not too late, he said firmly. I can't undo the past, but I can try to make things right. You're an incredible chef, Rachel. If you're willing, I'd like to offer you a position at Bella's, a senior position with the credit and recognition you deserve. Rachel's eyes widened. For a moment, she looked vulnerable, caught off guard by his offer. But then her expression hardened again. You think you can just buy my forgiveness with a job? She asked, her voice shaking. No, Ethan said, shaking his head. This isn't about buying forgiveness. It's about giving you the opportunity you should have had from the start. I can't erase what I did, but I want to help you get back to doing what you love. I don't have to forgive you, she replied, her tone softer, but I'll think about it. As Ethan left the apartment, a strange mix of emotions swirled within him, guilt, relief, and a renewed sense of purpose. The road to redemption wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to walk it. The days that followed were a blur of emotions for Ethan. The encounter with Rachel and her boys had shaken him deeply. It wasn't just guilt, it was a sense of responsibility. He had built his success on the foundation of others' hard work, and while he had never intentionally sought to hurt anyone, his blind ambition had clearly left casualties in its wake. Sitting in his office at Bella's, Ethan stared at the notes he had scribbled after his meeting with Rachel. He couldn't change the past, but he could take steps to acknowledge it and create a better future for her and her sons. His first call was to an old industry contact, David. I need your help, Ethan began, leaning back in his chair. Do you remember Rachel Carter? Of course, David replied, surprised. She was one of the most promising chefs I've ever seen. What happened to her? Ethan hesitated. I made mistakes, and she paid the price. I need to make it right. David listened quietly as Ethan explained the situation. If you're serious about this, David said finally, I think the first step is getting her story out there. The industry needs to know what she's capable of. Ethan nodded. That's exactly what I was thinking. Thanks, David. Setting a plan in motion, he reached out to food critics, local media, and industry leaders, sharing Rachel's contributions to Bella's and highlighting her skills. At the same time, he worked on creating a new position for her, a co-head chef role with full creative control. A week later, Rachel stepped into Bella's for the first time in years. She was greeted not with fanfare, but with quiet respect. The staff, many of whom had never met her, had heard her story from Ethan and looked at her with admiration. Ethan met her at the door, his expression earnest. Thank you for coming, he said. Rachel nodded stiffly. I almost didn't, but Jacob and Ethan convinced me to hear you out. Your boys are smart, Ethan replied. You raised them well. Rachel's expression softened slightly. They're good kids, and they want me to be happy. Even if I'm not sure I can trust you yet. I understand, Ethan said. I don't expect your trust right away, but I hope you'll give me the chance to prove that I'm serious about this." Following him into the kitchen, Ethan laid out his proposal. The co-head chef role came with full creative freedom and a public acknowledgement of her contributions to Bella's. He even showed her a draft of a press release he planned to send to local media. Rachel read it carefully, her face unreadable. When she finally looked up, her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I never thought I'd hear you say any of this," she admitted. "It's a lot to take in." "I know," Ethan replied. "Take all the time you need to decide. But no matter what, I want you to know how much I regret the way things turned out." Rachel was silent for a long moment before she surprised him by extending her hand. "Let's see if we can make this work." Ethan shook her hand, a wave of relief washing over him. "I won't let you down." Rachel's return to Bella's wasn't without its challenges. Rebuilding trust took time, and old wounds didn't heal overnight. But as the weeks passed, the tension between her and Ethan began to ease. Together, they created new dishes, blending her bold ideas with his refined techniques. The restaurant thrived, garnering praise for its innovative menu and the collaboration between its two head chefs. One evening, as the restaurant buzzed with activity, Ethan stepped into the kitchen to find Rachel standing by the stove, a small smile playing on her lips. "What's so funny?" he asked. Rachel glanced at him, her smile growing. "I was just thinking about how far we've come. If you told me a month ago that I'd be back here working with you, I wouldn't have believed it." Ethan chuckled. "Honestly, neither would I. But I'm glad you're here. The place feels complete now." Rachel nodded, her expression thoughtful. "It's not perfect, but it's a start." As weeks turned into months, Ethan began to see Bella's in a new light. It wasn't just a business, it was a community, a place where people came together to create something greater than themselves. Rachel's return had reminded him of the importance of recognizing and valuing the contributions of everyone who helped build that community. Jacob and Ethan became regular visitors at the restaurant, their initial distrust slowly giving way to curiosity and pride. They watched Rachel thrive in her element, her confidence returning with every dish she created. One evening, as the boys sat at a table near the kitchen, Ethan approached them with a smile. "You know," he said, "your mom is one of the best chefs I've ever worked with. You should be proud of her." Jacob looked at him seriously. "We are," he said. "And I guess we were wrong about you. A little." Ethan laughed, ruffling Jacob's hair. "I'll take it." For the first time in years, Ethan felt a sense of peace. He knew he couldn't erase the mistakes of the past, but he also understood that redemption wasn't about perfection. It was about trying, learning, and growing. As he watched Rachel and her sons laughing together in the restaurant that had once been the source of so much pain, Ethan realized that the journey was just beginning.